What actions of Gehazi caused him to become leprous in 2 Kings 5? This is the question we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of 2 Kings on walking through the Bible.
The glory of his cross.
Today we're going to be discussing 2 Kings chapter 5, verses 20 to 27. But before we do that, let's read the passage. If you have a Bible with you, you can turn to 2 Kings chapter 5, verse 20. But if you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So 2 Kings chapter 5, beginning at verse 20. But Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, the man of God, said, "Look, my master has spared Naaman the Syrian, while not receiving from his hands what he brought. But as the Lord lives, I will run after him and take something from him." So Gehazi pursued Naaman. When Naaman saw him running after him, he got down from the chariot to meet him and said, "Is all well?" And he said, "All is well. My master has sent me, saying, Indeed, just now 2 young men of the sons of the prophets have come to me from the mountains of Ephraim. Please give them a talent of silver and 2 changes of garments." So Naaman said, "Please take 2 talents. And he urged him and bound 2 talents of silver in 2 bags with 2 changes of garments, and handed them to 2 of his servants. And they carried them on ahead of him. When he came to the citadel, he took them from their hand and stored them away in the house. Then he let the men go, and they departed. Now he went in and stood before his master. Elisha said to him, "Where did you go, Gehazi?" And he said, "Your servant did not go anywhere." Then he said to him, "Did not my heart go with you when the man turned back from his chariot to meet you? Is it time to receive money and to receive clothing, olive groves and vineyards, sheep and oxen, male and female servants? Therefore the leprosy of Naaman shall cling to you and your descendants forever." And he went out of his presence leprous, as white as snow. In this chapter, we've been looking at the events surrounding the cleansing of Naaman's leprosy. This entire event is made possible because a servant girl from Israel told Naaman's wife there was a prophet in Samaria who could heal Naaman. Let's never underestimate the power of even a kind word in passing when going out to spread the gospel to the world. Naaman came to the king of Israel and then was sent to Elisha the prophet. Elisha told Naaman to dip 7 times in the Jordan River and he would be cleansed. At first, Naaman in anger refused, thinking the rivers of Damascus would be more suitable. But at his servant's pleading, Naaman obeyed Elisha's words, and after he had dipped 7 times in the Jordan, his leprosy was gone. Naaman now believed in the true God of heaven and came to report such to Elisha and to offer to pay him. Elisha refused, for he did not see it as right for him to accept payment for something God had done, especially from a non-Israelite. I am sort of reminded of what Peter told Simon the sorcerer in Acts 8, that the gift of God couldn't be purchased with money. While not completely analogous, Elisha was not going to accept payment for a miracle performed by the power of God. That doesn't mean Elisha never accepted kindness because he was a prophet, for we know he did from chapter 4, but he wasn't going to use his office as a prophet of God in order to become rich. Certainly some of the prosperity gospel preachers of today could learn to take a page out of Elisha's handbook here. Elisha's refusal to accept payment, though, is important, for beginning in verse 20, we come to the actions of Gehazi. We first met Gehazi back in chapter 4 as it concerned the Shunammite woman. We know that he was a faithful servant of Elisha, but that doesn't mean that he was without fault. One of his faults was that it appears that he sought to ensure that Elisha's elevated stature among the people was recognized, stature that he could then use to enrich himself. We witnessed this in his initial treatment of the Shunammite woman, who he was trying to remove from Elisha's feet when she came to him in grief. It is obvious that Gehazi thought that Elisha was such a man who shouldn't be handled in this way. But Elisha refused Gehazi, telling him that it is obvious that this woman was in deep despair. Here in chapter 5, by refusing to accept payment, Gehazi likely thought again that Elisha wasn't elevating himself to his rightful position, a position that again Gehazi seems to want to profit off of. So in order to correct this, Gehazi approached the chariot of Naaman, which by now had departed. He couldn't very well say that Elisha had changed his mind, or that he wanted paid instead. So Gehazi concocted a story, which was a lie, that 2 of the prophets from Ephraim had come that were in need. So perhaps Naaman could spare a talent of silver and 2 changes of clothing to assist them. In other words, Gehazi wasn't asking Naaman to pay Elisha. Rather, he was asking Naaman to be charitable on others who had supposed need. And Naaman was amenable to that due to his healing, and even went above and beyond by giving Gehazi 2 talents of silver. Naaman had his servants carry these things on ahead, but when they came to the citadel, a hill that is a little ways from the city where Gehazi was returning to, Gehazi took the silver and the clothing from the servants, sent Naaman and his servants on their way, and then hid those items in his house. It is clear that Gehazi knew what he did was wrong, for otherwise, why would he hide it? But no, he succumbed to the sin of covetousness, but not wanting to get caught, hid the gain of his dishonesty here. When he returned to Elisha, Elisha asked him where he went, for it was obvious Gehazi must have been gone for a little bit of time. Gehazi responded that he didn't go anywhere, to which Elisha revealed that he knew what he did. How did Elisha know? The same way Elisha healed Naaman of his leprosy, through the power of God. Elisha was a prophet of God, and in this instance God allowed Elisha to know things that he otherwise should not have known. Elisha asked Gehazi, was now the time to receive money, clothing, and other things in order that we may enrich ourselves? That's what the false prophets did, but Elisha wasn't a false prophet. He was a true prophet of God. Naaman was a Gentile and a new believer in Jehovah, and yet Gehazi saw that as an opportunity to make money and possibly even damage the faith of Naaman in the process. As punishment, the leprosy that had been Naaman's fell on Gehazi, miraculously by the power of God. Not only that, it wouldn't just fall on him, but any descendants that he would have, they would be lepers too. Something that would be quite damaging considering the rules concerning leprosy under the law of Moses. This should be a lesson for us, that although we may not become lepers for lying and being covetous, both those things are sinful and should be avoided. But even though Gehazi was punished here, he was not banished from Elisha's presence, for we will see him again, still at Elisha's side, showing us that Gehazi accepted the punishment given by Elisha without giving up his faith in God, a lesson that we can learn as well. With that, our time is up for today. We will be taking our 2-week autumn break, and will return, the Lord willing, on Tuesday, October 10th, 2023. When we return, we will take up with 2 Kings chapter 6, verses 1 to 7. We hope that you'll come back and join us in that discussion when we will continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.